Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, the reserved seats for women bill represents a groundbreaking step towards ensuring gender equity in political representation. With women making up nearly half of Nigeria's population, the underrepresentation in decision-making roles is a glaring anomaly that this bill seeks to address. Currently, women hold less than 5% of federal legislative seats, a figure that underscores the urgent need for legislative reform. Now, the reserved seats for women bill proposes the creation of additional seats exclusively for women in both the National Assembly and State Houses of Assembly. Specifically, it calls for 37 new Senate seats, one for each state and the Federal Capital Territory, and 37 additional House of Representatives seats. Furthermore, it seeks to introduce 3 new seats per state across all 36 state assemblies, all to be contested exclusively by women. Tonight, we'll focus on some developments around this bill and other critical issues. But before we go into the conversation, let's get to see this report put together by correspondent Ngozi Technique.
As the debate to amend the nation's constitution intensifies in the 6 geopolitical zones, Nigerian women are seeking a consensus to affirm their clamor for special or reserved seats at the legislative chambers. The reserved seats bill aims to increase women's representation in government, promote inclusive governance and sustainable development. The puzzling question on the minds of many is, what does the special seats mean to average Nigerian woman?
It will sink a good notion in the minds of every Nigerian woman, even the girls outside, that there's no discrimination, that both the men and the women are gender friendly, and it will give the women a sense of belonging. They will know that they are part of Nigeria, that they are being carried along.
If more women get the chance to sit on most of these seats, they will want to look for means to bring most of these dropouts and other this and create means that they can get education and improve their value in the society.
Women, they are the owner of the house. They have a lot of advice to do that this country will move forward. This country, without women in that seat, we cannot move forward.
It is only who wears the shoes that know where it pinches. The men do not carry children in their stomach. The men do not manage the home front. The men are not, they only know how to go and struggle and bring whatever they can to the house. So it's the woman that knows all the nitty-gritties of family upbringing and societal management.
So we're underrepresented, meaning we don't have a voice at the parliament, at both levels. And wherever you are, if you don't have a voice, it means things will be done without you.
Young Abigail in her little enclave does not like politics, yet appeals for approval of the bill are strong due to women's disposition to doing things right.
It will be a great advantage for all the women and the upcoming ladies. But as for me, I don't like politics.
Why?
Because of the fighting, the lying and the corruption.
So as young ones growing up, they should also try to encourage us, because most of the times we keep people as role models. If we grow up watching or seeing this woman achieving such things while on seats, we will want to be like her and to encourage us.
Approval of the Women's Reserved Seat Bill will ensure that the intellectual endowment of Nigerian women will be harnessed in decision-making processes that will benefit children, youths, women, the elderly, and the general populace. Also, advocates express optimism that assent to the Reserved Seat Bill is crucial to placing Nigeria in its rightful place among the Committee of Nations in promoting gender equity and inclusivity. Ngozi Technique.
All right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's introduce our guests. We'd like to welcome to this program Mrs. Esther Ehobami Michelia, UN CEDAW Committee member, Nigeria, and founder CEO, Wadi. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Siri.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
Also joined tonight by John Mutu, Executive Director, African Parliamentary Resource Center. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Let me also welcome Duduma Mamanuga. She is a Labour Party National Women Leader. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Right. It's a pleasure.
And also here tonight is Professor Agbo Madaki, Professor of Law, Federal University of Lokoja, and a visiting Professor of Applied Law, Durban University of Technology. Prof, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good evening, Siri, and good evening, viewers.
All right, so this is the setup tonight. It's still about the Nigerian women and the Special Seats Bill. We've had quite a number of conversations on this bill, and the conversation continues tonight. At some point in time, you'll have an opportunity to join in the discussion in the studio. At that time, we'll remind you of the process and the procedure. But for now, let's get down to the business tonight. And the effort has been relentless in pushing and driving awareness and getting to make sure that this bill goes through the process it should go to. And this has been on up till this time of constitutional amendment. How far? Tell us how far you've gone with this so far.
Well, I think I have been a part of the process for a very long time. This is like the third attempt that we are making as a country to push this bill through. And I think this time around, greater understanding about what the bill stands for women and for the society at large. Because the bill is not about a power struggle between men and women. It's about opening spaces that would allow the nation to benefit from the huge resources that it has in the women. And of course, it will be sending a signal to women that they are a critical vector in decision making. They add value to families, they add value to societies, and they will add value to our legislative processes as a country. And so I've been following from afar, and I think the appetite seems to be right at this point in time, but we don't relent until the bill is finally acceded to. And that's the conversation tonight, that Nigeria would finally join the League of Nations that understand the value of investing in women, and Nigeria can also begin to be more globally competitive in deploying the resources that are lodged in her women folk. We've been all relishing the wins of the Falcons and the D-Tigress, and these are some of the things that we, as a member of the CEDAW committee, we launched the GR40 last year, which is about parity, and this is based on proven research, knowledge, experience from around the world that women add value and transform societies, and therefore they need to be in decision making. And women in sports is one of those avenues, because the sports industry is an industry that's projected to reach about $624 billion by 2027. And not allowing or utilizing women to explore the entire value chain would be a loss to a country. We thank God Nigeria is keying into that. In the same vein, they should key in through the additional seats bill, because that will then open more avenues to reform our systems so that we can better explore the potentials in women and girls.
All right, thank you so very much. Well, it's not just women alone who are behind this drive. John Mutu, what's your experience with this, and how far? There are millions of men who are pushing for this too.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Cyril, and for all you do for this great country. I'm particularly happy with the progress that has been made over the struggle for this bill, and particularly want to maybe thank the National Assembly for their resilience. Like you remember, it was introduced in the 9th Assembly. It went through the committee stage, but unfortunately, we couldn't get through on the floor. when the members voted. But this time around, learning from the previous engagement, I think the promoters of this bill have adopted and have adapted their strategies. And I'm particularly happy that the leadership of both the House and the Senate have also keyed into this advocacy. For me, I don't see it as a women issue. For me, it's a development issue. For me, it's a governance issue. And the purpose is simple. Give us more opportunity to participate in the decision-making process. After all, there is no way men and women, based on our own democratic trajectory, can compete effectively. So it's more or less providing a platform for us to maybe have opportunity to bring in more women into parliament rather than leaving it open for them to compete against the men. And like you remember before now, or maybe up till this moment, the delineation of constituency is based on population, where the Senate is based on equality across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT, while for the House of Reps is based on population. But within the population, there are different demographics. We're talking about a constituency of about 50% of, not just the population, but about 50% of voters who contribute meaningfully to our economic development. But creating that opportunity for them to also favorably have a chance to participate meaningfully in the governance process. After all, across the country, even in sports, you don't put men and women to compete together, and that is why different sports are created for women and men separately for them to be able to compete. So for me, having more women in the decision-making process will enhance our development, it will enhance inclusivity, and also promote good governance. And that is why for some of us who have seen it, we're happy to join that. After all, I have two daughters who I want to be able to see compete effectively and aspire for the opportunity to contribute to our national development.
Right, thanks a lot. Let's come to you, Dudu Manuga. Give us the benefit of your experience, your drive towards ensuring that this bill, this time around, scales through, and just how much work has gone into it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cyril Stoba. Let me say, first of all, that we appreciate the Deputy Speaker for sponsoring this bill. And for us, coming from the political party angle, we are not sitting down to say, oh, let it be anyhow, because whoever emerges or whoever is supposed to emerge has to be from a political party. The women have to be members of political parties. And so from the national level, we are working with our state women leaders, we are with our local government women leaders, and we have made them to understand that they have a role to play in this. Because the issue of the special seats is not a party issue. Even though, yes, they will contest on the different political party platforms. However, this is something for Nigeria, it's something for all of us. And so we are encouraging our women in all the states and the FCT to make sure that they approach their representatives, their senators, their members of the houses of assembly in the states across the political parties. As long as this person is your representative, whether he or she is from your party or not, you need to move to them, talk to them, lobby them, and let them support this, let them vote in favor of this. Because like has been said already, there are a lot of advantages for this country when that bill is passed and we are able to have more women. Mm-hmm. Chairman Mao of China said, women hold up half the sky. Mm. So what is happening to our sky in Nigeria? It is lopsided. There are hardly any women. 5% is not good enough. So if women hold up half the sky, and if on the governance table they are supposed to hold up half the table, then it's high time that we have this bill passed, because it's going to bring a lot of benefits, as has been said, not just to individuals, but to the country as a whole. A lot of changes will come. And even Nigeria's place in the Committee of Nations will improve, because now they look at us and they say, wow, you're a giant of Africa and you cannot even have 5% at the National Assembly. How does that translate to being the giant of Africa? If other nations are supposed to look at Nigeria as the giant to set the pace, and yet we are the ones now looking at others and saying, wow, how are you doing it? I think it's time that we change that narrative. And so we are talking to our women. We are telling them, move out, go and meet the representatives, go and meet the senators, go and meet the members of the houses of assembly. Not just them, meet the gatekeepers of the communities. Because these elected people listen to them. So don't just say, oh, this is not in my party, this is not a member of my party. No, go to everybody. Lobby them, tell them to talk to the people that they know at the National Assembly, and let us have, and even at the State Houses of Assembly, because eventually they will still have to vote at the State House of Assembly. So we are telling them, make sure that you talk to whoever you need to talk to. Let us have this bill passed. Let us have Nigeria on a new platform, a new light internationally with regards to this. And like one of the commentators that was interviewed said, the younger ones need to see older women they can look up to, something they can aspire to. So let us give these younger ones the opportunity to say, oh, if this woman can be there, I can also aspire to be there. You know, so I think for me, the political parties, the women, we have a forum of national women leaders. So what I'm saying is what is happening across all the 19 political parties, we are all working to make sure that on this matter, we are one.
All right, good. It's a good thing you have that platform made up of women leaders in the political parties. Well, we'll come to you on what the parties can do and what they've been doing so far. But let's go over to Professor Madaki at this point in time, and let's hear your opening comments on the matter.
Well, this conversation could not be coming up at a better time than now, where the country is still wallowing in the euphoria of the victories of our ladies at the women, what is it, WAFCON? Yes. And the basketball. What the men have not been able to do for many years. And then coming fast on the heels of that one is the victory of the D-Tigress in basketball. Right now, Nigeria is on the front burner of conversations and jubilation all over the world. And I think it goes to show that when women are incentivized and encouraged, there's no limit to what they can achieve. Regarding the conversation that we are having tonight, where it is axiomatic based on the Nigerian Constitution that there's the assumption or the presumption of equality before the law. And Section 42 seeks to clarify it by forbidding any form of discrimination on ground of sex, race, culture, as the case may be, but it simply stops there. There are basic strictures culturally, politically, finance, economically, that stands in the way of the woman from attaining her utmost best, especially politically. We have a very sad situation that in a country that have a population of about 223 million, and out of this we have about 110 million women, consider about 47% of the population, and yet where it matters most, where decisions are taken, where laws are made for the peace and good governance of this country, as I speak to you, the population, the total number of women in our National Assembly is basically about 4.1%. It is sad. It is indeed sad because it places Nigeria 189 out of 190 countries. And I think this doesn't speak well for Nigeria. We cannot have such sizable population being so marginalized, so neglected that they are not involved in the main decision-making process of this country, especially the legislature that makes law for the peace and good governance of this country. There's about 62 items that we have on the exclusive legislative list. I can assure you, if you combine the women and children in this country, it means over 70% of the population, their views not taken into consideration when laws, rules, and subsidiary legislation is being made to affect them. And I think the time has come for us to have this conversation. And I dare say that it's also gladdening that the current National Assembly, I must commend them for their boldness to handle the bull by the horn. There appears to be consensus within the two houses of the National Assembly to ensure that this bill stays through this time around. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'd just like to go quickly back to the matter of, yes, the women are going to contest on the platform of political parties. They have to belong to parties to start with. And you have made that clarion call that they should go out there and participate. So let's look at how the parties are currently constituted. You are the women leader of your party. And you find across board, almost all the parties, that's what they just are. They have positions for women leader, and we're looking out for women. How have these parties responded to creating a level, playing field for women to aspire to be national chairman, vice chair, secretaries?
Well, different parties have different policies. What I can talk about confidently is the party I belong to. We have a women policy in the party, and as far back as 2009, the policy in our manifesto says 30%, but as we speak, it is being reviewed, looking at the current situation of things in the country. It is being reviewed, and I know it's being reviewed upwards, so it's going to be more than 30%. And there are parties that, apart from just the women leader, there are other leadership positions. In Labour Party, we have 4 women in the National Working Committee. We have 5 women as state chairmen. And some of these states are the hot ones, like Rivers, Lagos, Edo. We have women in those, Plateau and Taraba, 5 states. So a lot of parties are opening up. There are some parties that have a policy of 50-50. So parties are opening up. Parties have realized that we cannot just continue to have just that one position of a women leader in the National Working Committee. Because one woman out of maybe 16 or 18, whatever the number is, of the National Working Committee, there will be hardly any voice there. So, but now parties are opening up. Like we have 18, and out of the 18, we have 4, which is an improvement on what used to be. We have not arrived where we want to arrive, but then it's a step. We're starting. And a lot of parties are also doing that. They're opening up. Some even have women, like we have a woman as a deputy national chairman, other parties too. So parties are opening up. And IPAC, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, is doing a lot in having conversations with the chairmen especially, and the parties generally, on the issue of inclusion, making sure that everybody has a place in the leadership of the parties. So IPAC has been doing a lot, and through because of that engagement, a lot of our chairmen are now coming to realize that, look, these women need to be carried along. These women need to be given a chance, a place on the table to sit down. We need to hear their voices, And so that is happening. And in some parties, when women propose certain things, certain improvements, the chairmen support the women because they see that women just don't say anything anyhow. It's not a place to giggle. It's not a place to laugh. It's a place to, leadership is a place to bring out that which concerns everybody. And because the women are bringing out a lot of meaningful suggestions, the chairmen have seen, and the leadership generally have seen that, yes, women in political parties, in the leadership, will help us be better. And so in political parties, like from the discussions we have with other women leaders, already the talk is, because we are anticipating that this bill will be passed, so we're going beyond just saying support, 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 but let us go out there and begin to identify the women and encourage them to make sure they move in. Because you see, these seats that will be contested by women only, we believe that they will not be as violent as when you're contesting with the men. Because that's one of the things that makes the women scared. They say there's violence, but when it's us women, that violence will be greatly minimized. And so women will be confident to not just step out, but to also give it their best. And I believe that when they get in, they'll do a lot for the nation.
Certainly, John Moto, certainly this will encourage more women to participate in politics, to run for positions, both at party and, at other levels. Right? You see this happening?
Yes. Yes, I do see, because one, you said minimum of 37 in the Senate, minimum of 37 in the House. That makes about 74 already. Then you have about 108 in the states. By the time you add this together, at least within the legislature, you have a sizable number, almost getting close to 200. And remember, these seats are exclusive for women, but it does not exclude them from contesting for the other current seats. So at the end of the day, maybe you may have, just like we have now, maybe another 5% for the other seats contested in addition to this. We will be talking about maybe 25 to 30% of women in the legislature. Right now, like you know, there are states that you don't have a single legislature at all. So definitely this will increase. It may not be up to the number or the percentage that we expect, but at least we started from somewhere. But the issue I want to quickly add is the issue of political parties. I share in their pain, I share in their challenge, and we keep asking how are they going to do it if you say it should be based on quota. There are those, when we started this conversation, there are those who said, no, instead of coming up with a law or amending the why don't we allow political parties to take the initiative to reserve some seats as part of quota for women. And the question is, in each political party, positions are usually zoned across the different political zones. So which zone will you now microzone to a woman? Right? So you said, okay, the woman leader will come from the South-South. So automatically all the men in the South-South are disenfranchised. How do you do that? Same way, if you say the senators or House of Reps, you zone certain positions, political parties should zone certain positions to women, let's say 30%. How do you identify which zone should produce a woman, which federal district should produce a woman? That was the main challenge. And some of the members of the National Assembly were scared. Oh, you want them to come and take my seats? How will I relinquish my seats? And I'll give that a quick example. In my own local government, I remember in the last elections, the PDP then made it a point that at least there should be a woman councillor in the local government, apart from the woman who is the vice chairman. And the question is, which ward will you produce the councillor from? At the end of the day, they say, okay, throw a ballot. And unfortunately, it was the guy from my ward who picked the wrong ballot. So he lost a seat that he had already won and gave it to, because you want to increase inclusivity. Right. You have already disenfranchised the men. And that is why we went to the route of adding additional seats, which will now be exclusively reserved for women. And that addressed the fear of some of these lawmakers who were afraid that he was going to take their seats.
Now, there's still another angle to that I'd like you to speak on. Yes, it's clear that the reserved seats would be without prejudice to other positions where women are free to contest. Now, I'm looking at the level of advocacy and awareness that we've been able to spread across, so we don't end up with a situation where some of those men would now say, okay, after all, go and contest for your reserved seats and let's hold on to this one, because it's extremely important to get across on that.
Absolutely, Cyril. The fact that the special seats are aiming to address the monopoly that we already have. We have a monopoly of the political system, particularly at the legislative level. And we commend this assembly, and like colleagues have said, it's highly commendable. But then the political parties still have a role and a responsibility to embrace the notion of inclusion, because the notion of inclusion would not then segregate, because this is then a kind of segregation, and it will continue to deepen. It will not ultimately redress the challenge that we are trying to address. And by global standards, these special seats are a first step. They are not an end in themselves. They are like an opportunity for the political parties, for the political system to experience the value addition that women bring into the political system. And so if we just assign them these special seats and they do not have the opportunity to be integrated into the mainstream of governance and the political system, it means there's still a challenge. But I believe that the results that would draw from the added voices, because that's what has been the practice and the experience from around the world, is that countries start with 15% or 8%, and incrementally they realize that almost every sector of society benefits from the added voice and views of women. It makes decision-making, budgeting, planning, oversight and lawmaking more inclusive. It contributes to poverty reduction. When those indicators and results begin to manifest, political parties are more willing. And of course, because women are at the table, by virtue of those special seats, then law reforms become easier. Because right now, in some sectors like agriculture, where women are over 60 to 70% of the agricultural workforce, they still have no special incentives. They do not have any mechanisms. They do not have safety nets or buffers that will make them more productive in that sector. Without legal reforms, some of those things become contentious. And the issue of the political parties themselves, it is the Electoral Act. And reforming the Electoral Act means that you need voices around the table that will justify why the Electoral Act needs to be. There are countries that, particularly one of the best practices is Thailand. In Thailand, the political parties are told the percentage women is 35. You have less than 35, some of the seats you've won will be given to another political party. And so the parties begin to compete to ensure that they find the right women, they market the women well, ensure they win so that they can retain all the seats that they field and they win in the process. So there are many pitfalls, but I believe that the first critical step is these special seats, which will convince the political party, convince the nation of the value addition, of the benefits, of the spillover effect of having women around the table at the political level.
All right, we'll speak more on the reforms as you put them, but in addition to the conversation in the studio, we also have a number of reports, and let's get to see this one from Ibadan.
Hence, women's involvement in politics are gaining traction, with growing calls for the implementation of special reserved seats echoing across Nigeria and other parts of the world. For many ordinary Nigerian women, reserved seats could open the door to greater attention on issues that directly affect their lives, like maternal health care, access to education, child protection, economic opportunities, and gender-based violence.
There's a constitutional amendment currently at the public hearing stage, which is to create permanent seats for women in parliament, 1 extra seat per state for House of Reps, and 1 extra seat for Senate. So that will be extra 36 women in reps and extra 36 women in Senate. So maybe that will succeed, I don't know, but I'm willing to back that proposal.
As an everyday Nigerian woman, you also have the opportunity to be a part of the decision making. As an everyday Nigerian woman, you're sure that rooms where decisions and policies that affect women, youth and children is being made, you have a voice, you would have a representative, you have a woman representative.
Some critics argue that leadership should be earned by merit, not gender. Others worry that only elite women would benefit, leaving grassroots voices unheard.
During the reign of late Senator Abiola Jimobi, all the tickets for women then was free, and we are the first attend to in the politicals. And in Lagos State, there is one of our mommy, Sister Orelokwe. She's working presently with President Tinubu as a woman, and she was giving a lot of recognition that used to bring a lot of things back to women in the state.
They should allow women to participate in politics. They have the number, but most of the women, they don't support themselves when it comes to the politics. We've seen women leading the leadership role. We've seen people like Dora Akweli. We've seen people like the former deputy governor of Osun State under the leadership of Olagunsoye Oyinlola. So it will be very good and it will be very interesting if women are not reserved as own property.
In the eyes of many, the push for special reserve seats is not just a political debate. It's a matter of visibility, inclusion, and justice. Whether in the market, classroom, or parliament, Nigerian women are demanding not just to be seen, but to be heard.
All right, our next report is from Awka
In many societies, traditional norms and power dynamics continue to favor men in leadership roles, reinforcing the belief that such positions are primarily for them. As a result, women who take on leadership roles often face significant challenges, including discrimination, intimidation, and even violence. Various barriers hinder women from reaching their full potential in these positions, such as limited campaign financing and the lack of robust support systems. For example, in Anambra State, only 2 women currently serve in the State House of Assembly out of 30 elected members, with just 5 holding appointed roles. This glaring imbalance highlights the persistent issue of underrepresentation as women occupy only a small fraction of seats in government. Yet, the question remains, are women aware of the reserved seats that exist for them in leadership positions?
It means advocating for political and elective seats for women.
When it comes to politics, at least women can have a seat there and be involved in anything politics. I was supposed to encourage them, share with them, back them.
How can their active participation be encouraged?
First of all, female child education is a stepping stone.
We need to give women orientation so that they will come out and start participating in the politics.
We, the women, to support our own to get there, because we are more populated than others. And if we join hands together to support our own, we must surely get there.
Nigeria, a woman has never ruled Nigeria for one. But if given the opportunity, you see women can even do the best. They should be allowed to contest as well as the men. Following the procedures that men take to gain power and authority, women should also be given that opportunity.
It is crucial to confront the negative perceptions and stereotypes that undermine women's leadership abilities, while advocating for constitutional measures and waivers that would promote greater participation from women. In Oka, Jem Francis Obi.
All right, back here in the studio, Prof, let's come to you on the matter of those impediments, the things that stand in the way of women, from the political parties themselves, right up to where there are these deficient figures in positions, governance positions.
Well, I was in very active politics until 2015 when I decided to bid it forward. From the moment I was nominated to the Constitutional Conference in 1994 till 2015, and I realized that the structure and nature and pattern of politics in Nigeria definitely makes it fairly difficult for the woman to succeed in it. I will give you an example. Our politics is highly commercialized, monetized, and then merchandised, as the case may be. And in terms of economic empowerment, there are very, very few women in this country that can stand head to toe with the men in seeking elective office. My lady on your extreme left gave an example into agriculture, where about almost 70% are women, and yet they don't even have access to loan. Because one, in our society and culture, women don't own land. And oftentimes you need collateral for you to secure loan from the bank. So in the absence of financial capacitation, the women will find it very difficult, to contest election in a society where money is the main determinant of who picks the ticket and who wins the election. Another issue is cultural barrier. A lot of political activities in Nigeria, and I don't know why, takes place in the night. No responsible African or Nigerian man will permit his wife to go for a meeting and in the midst of men and stay out all night. So the cultural barrier is there.
Yeah, but must politics be a nocturnal affair?
But I'm telling you that's the practice in Nigeria. Let me tell you on the funny flip of it, a lot of men who are going out in the night say, oh, even though they're not going for a meeting, they tell their wife, I'm going for a political meeting. And the wife knows, okay, see you tomorrow morning. That's on the lighter side. You also realize that one, in terms of nurture and nurturing, from the moment of birth, as a result of socialization, women are already disambiguate. You be the girl, you be the boy. The boy play football, play hunting, play the tough game. Oh, the girl is already prepared for the kitchen. So that stereotype is there. We need to win the girl child off it to believe in herself. That if given equal opportunity, that you are same and same with every person. Like I rightly put it, I begin to wonder recently that the super Falcons. The Falcon, the ladies, right?
Falcons.
That the Super Falcon, I began to wonder that if they play against the Super Eagles, that they're more likely to win. I saw the agility, I saw the strength, I saw the wizardry, I saw the way they dribble, I saw the deployment of brain over strength. So I think the time has come, especially for us as parents, from the word go to reposition the thinking of the girl child to believe in herself. Like one of the contributors say on the screen, that women are their own problem. In as much I do not subscribe to it, in a situation that you probably have over 50% of the voting population being women, and yet the woman candidate will not win election, have much to tell. So first and foremost, even if this amendment succeeds, and I believe it's going to succeed, it will still be same old story with very few women having that opportunity. And I guess what is likely to happen, the men now, the rich men, the politicians, would rather push their wives and daughters to occupy these seats.
All right. We'll
so
come
these
to
are the
that.
challenges.
That's another angle. But let me just dwell a little bit longer on this matter of it's women who would stand in the way of other women and pull them down. But is it really a tenable argument? Because to me it seems men contest, men go against men who contest, but men are not seen as pulling down men. But when it happens with women, it means women are pulling down women. Is that a tenable argument, really?
I don't believe that argument. And for me, where you find sometimes a woman maybe working for a man rather than working for a woman, or a woman not standing with a woman or saying things against a woman, for the men to say, oh, women are always enemies of themselves. It is the men. It is the men that push those ideas in the women's heads. Let me just give you an example. A few years ago, I was in a rural community talking to women about leadership and all that. And a young woman with her baby on her back stood up and said, women are not created for leadership. And I asked her why. She said, because women have small brains. So where did she pick that up from? That women have small brains. So I asked her, I said, did you go to school? She said, yes. She finished SS. I said, okay. Were there boys in your class? She said, yes. Did you all write the same exam? Did some girls pass better than boys? She said, yes. And yet they have small brains. So you see, there's a lot of work on education and enlightenment that we need to do, because the wrong narratives are pushed out there. And a lot of times when men talk about that, they bring the example of Sarah Jibril a few years ago. That is not the case. Women, for me, women are not women's enemies. Yesterday I was in a meeting, and we had women from different political parties and some women from the House of Reps. We were talking about the same bill. And one of the honorable members from the House of Reps said she was excited that she had never known that women from different political parties could sit down and agree on something like that. So you see, we are not each other's enemies. What we need to do is to understand ourselves and see how we can stand together and push for the same thing.
All right, we'll explore that further. But yes, John, you have been following this trend, and I see you've been writing furiously.
Oh, yes, okay. I think it's a very interesting matter. But what I want to say is that some time ago I was in Lagos. We had a conversation with some of the parliamentarians from the state level, speakers on this issue. And one of the issues that emerged from that meeting was quite instructive. And they said, every political party wants to win an election. The primary purpose of every political party going into an election is to win. And if we are to win, what the party will do is to bring his best foot forward, put his best foot forward. Will I want to, because I want inclusivity, present a woman when I have a stronger man? to contest against the other political party? What are the chances of me winning, considering all the cultural barriers that we talked about and the economic barriers? So in the candidate recruitment process, the party will strategically position or maybe support a process that the best candidate will emerge. And when that kind of situation is put together, in most cases, the man will definitely emerge. No party will say, oh, because we want to look nice, move a female forward and lose an election. So how do we level the playing field in such a way that we are not comparing apple with orange? That's one. Number two is, I said, in the family, we vote the man leads the family, right, during elections. And when we are going to vote at the polling unit, the man mobilizes his family. How many women can say, no, I'm not voting for your candidate. I want to vote my fellow woman and go back home successfully? Especially in some cultures, when you tell you, if you vote for whoever you want, don't come back home. So in most cases, it is not necessarily women don't want to vote for their own person.
They are bullied.
They are bullied. In some cases, they are coerced.
Yeah.
In some cases, maybe the woman who you are asking, sometimes they will say, are you sure she can? Why waste the vote? Why don't we put the vote in a candidate we know will win and eventually benefit from the proceeds of the elections? There are so many issues. And I also don't expect a woman should vote for a woman purposely because she's a woman. Just like a man should not vote for a man because he's a man. Look for the best candidate and win. And because our democracy is still evolving, we must provide that enabling environment where women can also emerge from that process. But if we want to allow practice to write that, then it will take us 50 years. Yes. And that is 50. Why this special seat bill is an attempt to create that environment where women can emerge and gradually mature and now compete effectively.
But there's also the question, and then who says that for every brilliant and strong man, there isn't a woman who is as brilliant or even better?
Absolutely. And speaking to the issue of why the political party would want to put the best foot forward and why there's a belief that women do not vote for women. I think the special seats bill is actually responding to that. Responding to that in the sense that socialization and the acculturation has really given us, a people, a mindset that women can do it. Although we see from statistics that women perform just as well, if not sometimes outperforming the men in many fields in many spheres. However, because of that socialization, because it is already in the mind of people, like the person who was telling you there's a small brain, on what basis did the person arrive at the judgment that the brain of a woman is smaller than that of a man? When WAEC results, graduation results, leadership. Look at our financial sector. Women are in the leadership there, and they are doing very well. Look at the sports sector. Look at agriculture. So the truth is, it takes a bill like this and the provision of those special seats to justify and give evidence to the fact that women have the capabilities and the competencies without necessarily dislodging the men, as we said earlier, as a first step. Because when you do that, then there is no basis of apples and oranges, and political parties will begin to gain the confidence and to look for women who can match the men. Because there are women who have that capacity, but because of the violent nature of politics, the nocturnal nature of politics, the commercial nature of politics, a lot of them would rather stay back because what is at stake anyway? They would not want to risk their lives. But with these special seats, we would then at least have a set of women who can enter into that space, competing with women, less rigorous, it appears, but I believe once it is passed, then you will see the really vibrant women show up because each party would then want to win. And so it's a very, very critical first step for us as a country that would allow us to answer all of these questions that seem to be plaguing us, particularly at the grassroots, where people don't think that women have those leadership skills due to stereotypes, biases, cultural norms and values that trivialize the values and the wealth and the dignity of women, particularly in the political space.
Prof, certainly a lot of things would have to change in order to align with this bill. And of course, this is just a start, as I said. It's not permanent. It's a first step. And so there would be need for continuous reforms and changing of mindsets as we go on.
Now, in a lot of countries of the world, in America, in Kenya, and quite a number of African countries, you have what you may call the Equal Opportunity Bill, or Act, as the case may be. So, like you rightly put it, the gain is going to be incremental. If we're able to constitutionalize the special seat for women in our constitution, many other things can follow. Like we have identified economic empowerment being a bane of women participation in politics. On a global scale, you have barely about 34% of women occupying managerial positions in various enterprises. But in Nigeria, it is worse. So we must have pieces of legislation that guarantee that women will be given equal opportunities in employment. Look at how long it took before we began to admit women for combatant positions at the Nigerian Defense Academy. So if you look at recruitment into various government agencies and parastatal, preponderantly it is still men. So when we have the Equal Opportunity Act, that will now make it justiciable in a situation that employment is conducted and there are fewer women and we can go to court to challenge it, things will begin to change. The more women we have having access to economic empowerment and opportunity, then the more women will have to participate in politics and decision making. So that obviously, passing or enacting an Equal Opportunity Act in Nigeria will help. Obviously, it will help because it has helped in other countries. If you look at the Constitution of Kenya, they did not limit it only to political position. They say in all government appointments, provided no more than two-thirds belongs to a particular gender. Provided, and then they have a commission that sits over it. In Nigeria, we have the Federal Character Commission, but we still need to amend that very law to ensure that in all the spheres of the economy and social life, that women are given equal opportunity. And when we talk of equal opportunity, when I teach human rights, everybody is hungry, right? But we have different heights, but we're all hungry. And then you now put the food on a higher pedestal. Only the taller person will have access to that food. So when we talk of this empowerment and equal opportunity, what it now means, you may need to give the shorter people a stool to stand on in order to also have access to that food. This is what we are talking about.
Yes. Absolutely, Prof. When you talk about the Equal Opportunity Bill and what we call temporary special measures, this is what we're trying to do as a country, is to give a temporary special measure that will allow women to step up. And you were talking about economic empowerment. One key sector is the procurement. We find that globally, the procurement, public procurement, is valued at about $13 trillion business annually. Women get less than 1% of that globally. In Nigeria, it's less than 0.1% that women have access to these high-ticket jobs that then enable them to be key actors in the political arena. And so without reforms to law that will then safeguard or better regulate and make it more socially responsive, attending to the needs of women, men, youth, the disabled, so that different segments of society can get the economic muscle to be able to compete and to be able to contribute effectively. Those are the things that will follow. These are the spillover benefits of this special seats bill, because then when such votes or such reforms are put on the floor, you would have at least a critical mass that are speaking in favor of those who are right now completely excluded.
Right, we have a number of reactions to the matters being discussed here, and some of them have come in by way of tweets, and we'll just take a couple of them. This is from Obasi, at Obasi. In what specific ways, and this is what we've been talking about, and both Prof and you have just mentioned that, in what specific ways can increased female representation through this bill improve governance and national development? And that's just part of it. You've answered. And we have Adoni Martins. Any nation that would not prioritize the issue of women affairs in governance is courting incitement against the state, phobia for elections, and underdevelopment. As it is in many parts of the globe, they are the majority voters, so factoring them in is a necessity.
Absolutely.
All right. Right, Joe.
Okay. Yes, I think that is very true, but one of the things I wanted to mention is that this is not new. Nigeria has in the past taken steps to also create that kind of environment where nobody is left behind. And one of it is the quota system. You remember, the quota system was introduced to create that kind of environment where people who are disadvantaged can, or regions that are disadvantaged, can also have access to education, especially with education. And that is why the JAMB cutoff points is varied across locations, so that at least people from other disadvantaged, they can also
But again, you would also know that that has also been abused.
Yeah. Abuse is one issue, but the thinking and the principle is what we're talking about.
Exactly.
It is to deal, we shouldn't talk about because they are abused.
Right, so
the principle.
yeah, where I'm leading to is with the benefit of hindsight of such schemes meant to provide equal opportunities, the thought must be putting measures in place to ensure that I heard the comment about, well, some of the men who are well-to-do will now either place their wives in there or their daughters or their relations.
I will come to that. There are strategic issues and there are also operational issues. Constitutional amendment is focused on the strategic issues. And that is why when I'm engaging with the advocate, I said, yes, let's first of all get the amendment.
All right.
Each political party and INEC will be meant to now put the operational framework in place. What is most important for me, whatever measure, whatever process of failures that we have, we'll continue to deal with. But what I'm expecting is that at the end of every electoral cycle, we'll have significant number of women in parliament. What we'll now be doing, like she said, every political party will ensure that they are bringing their best women forward. If party A the governor brings his girlfriend, there are other options across political parties for other people. But at the end of the day, 19 women, if there are 19 political parties, 19 women are contesting for that single seat. And whether women or men, not only women will be voting, the voting population is both men and women. So at the end of the day, one person will emerge. And when we finish the counting, in each state we'll have a minimum of 3 female legislators. That is the barest minimum. But as we move on, as the practice continues, just like INEC, we have been supporting INEC to strengthen the electoral process. All those gaps will be added. But let's not, because of the fear of the challenge, throw the baby with the bathwater at this point. And I was also talking about the federal character principle. All these were measures that have been. So the special seat bill is nothing novel. It's one of the measures that this country is taking to deepen our democratic governance. And the advantages are so there. And I keep challenging any man or anybody who is against this bill to come up and tell us what the disadvantages or who is this bill going to harm and what are the disadvantages. People talk about the cost of governance. Is it not going to increase the cost of governance? And I said, in a state where you have only 3 additional seats, and we're looking at a budget, it constitutes less than 0.1% of our national budget, addition to our national budget, which is almost insignificant compared to the advantages. So I don't see any downside, that all the benefits are out there for us to see.
All right. At this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on the special seats bill, and hopefully we'll take in your phone calls and there'll be more tweets. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live We'll be back shortly. Thanks for staying with us. This segment will open the phone lines, means you can call in and be part of the conversation. And we always remind you of the procedure. If you're calling in and your call gets through, turn down the volume of your TV set. That's the way to avoid the hurlback or the echo. And we'll also encourage you to go straight to the point, stick to the points, and as much as possible, don't bother too much about the greetings. Just a simple hello would do. Okay, we'll start off with another of our reports. This one is from Kano.
In the vibrant heart of Kano, where everyday women juggle economic survival and social expectations, a new chapter in Nigeria's political landscape is taking shape. The policy of specially reserved seats for women, now gaining traction across the country, promises to open doors that have long been closed to female voices in governance. The proposal, aimed at securing additional legislative seats exclusively for women, seeks to correct a historical imbalance, where women make up less than 10% of Nigeria's elected officials, despite being nearly half the population.
Just the 23 general elections here in Kano, there were women who wanted to contest for House of Assembly, House of Reps, but when it comes to it comes to the primaries there, I don't know, she will score next to nothing.
Right from primary election, they will not allow you to pass that stage. They will not allow you to win. You have the women, we have them. You know, when it comes to primary election, it's not everybody that will go, it's only the delegates. It depends on when women are given the chance to be delegates.
For Bilkisu Yakubu Indabu, a nurse and a one-time chairperson within local government area in Kano, the promise of reserved seats is more than politics. It is about visibility.
Before, people are thinking that when you go into policy, you are not a prostitute, you are prostitute or something like that. But no, now we are showing people that you can be able to come and do what you can do to your society.
Any seat that is given to us, the women, I am telling you, we are very competent to sit and deliver the goods out of it.
I am hoping that the federal government will make good its promise and stand by women of repute so that women will get the proper representation they deserve. Come on, we deserve it.
But beyond the headlines, what does the policy truly mean for the average woman in northern Nigeria?
Democracy, it is a game of numbers. Okay, people elect whom they think will represent them. So you cannot reserve a seat and say these are only for women.
In a country where cultural expectations and political traditions often limit women's visibility, the move is seen as both a breakthrough and a challenge.
I'm happy now that this aspect of reserved seats for women is coming up. Supposing that it came earlier, I would have been a happier politician.
As Nigeria prepares for its next election cycle, come 2027, the test of the special reserved seats will not lie in the number of women seated, but in the voices heard, the policies shaped, and the lives touched. In Kano, Elizabeth Yilala-Mido.
Obviously, some people need a little bit of convincing still, and you tend to wonder if that gentleman was the leader of a political party, what would happen. But we heard some of the respondents said that the parties started this whole process by ensuring that the women do not go past the primaries. Again, I turn to you as one.
I think Mr. John said something earlier on about parties and how candidates emerge and why candidates emerge. You know, he talked about every party wants to win. Yeah. And every party wants to look at who can help us to win. Who has what it takes to fight it out there and get that seat for us? So parties always want to put the best candidate forward. But I think with this, even with this special seats, the same thing will happen. Parties want to bring their best out, the women, the best women out. So for me, I think the fight will be a good one. And it will also be an opportunity for parties, for women to be showcased. Because you see, there are some women, because of the political environment now, they have what it takes, but they prefer to just shy away a little. But when it is for seats reserved exclusively for women, we will see women come out. We'll see women who have what it takes come out. And
One former, in what ways does this address gender inequity and promote women's rights in Nigeria? That has been part of the conversation all along, all evening. And the other, Atobasi, if representation is a right, what mechanisms should be in place to guarantee it beyond temporary measures like special seats?
Well, I think my sister just talked about the parties themselves. This bill would actually catalyze parties to begin to launch drives that will hunt for women, search for the right kind of women. They know what the political or the electoral landscape looks like. And so they would look for the right kind of women. And it is through this process that we can then begin the journey that will lead us past temporary special measures. Because right now, you heard the man from Kanu saying, why reserve? I think we're at a point where we're saying the added value of reserved seats far outweighs any argument against it. It is a rights issue because women are part of the population. They're almost 50% of the population, almost 50% of the voting population. They have a right to be at the table. It's an indicator of good governance. And we do not have any other mechanism right now that will enable us to showcase women at their best. I think this is what this particular special seats would do, will enable parties to go and hunt for women that they can field, who will then compete with other women. And then we see a whole visibility of women from the grassroots right up to the national level that will then be incremental, because then it will debunk the belief that there are no women. It will debunk the belief that women are not capable, and it will help the parties assure them that women are marketable when it comes to regular seats. And this is how we will be able to cross that bridge and move beyond temporary special measures. And of course, like Prof said, additional legal reforms, which you need the numbers in the National Assembly, in the state assemblies, to change existing laws, to refine our quota laws, our federal character laws, so that they are more amenable to the realities of inequality and women's rights.
Right, Prof. Speaking along those lines, and then the aspect of women who, they're few, all right, but who are already in leadership positions, and the role they can play as role models for the younger ones. That also featured in the early part of this discussion. But I want you to take that on, and how women who are already in positions today can inspire and encourage the younger ones to also take the step towards attaining such heights as they have?
Well, for me, I became more conscious about national politics from 1979, let me put it that way, because I was born in 1960, and between 1960 and 67, that was democracy. I was too young to know what democracy was all about. And from there, from 1967 till 1979, we had military rule. So it was from 1979 I began to see democracy in action. But I will recall that we have a female senator like, is it Franca Afegwa?
Yes.
And her name was a household name all over the country. And successive assemblies in this country, we have had women that have shown like Lord Esther in the National Assembly. Look at the current First Lady of this country, Senator Remi Tinubu, when she was there. She had fought very strongly against the men. Even when a male senator tried to intimidate her, she stood her ground. So the women folks are not lacking in terms of role model or people to stand up for them to emulate. The truth of the matter is that because of the number, which is merely a drop in the ocean, there are very fewer people to look up to. So I do believe that with the special seats for women, which is all about inclusiveness. In fact, I would prefer the bill being addressed an inclusive bill, you know, to incorporate the larger majority of Nigeria that are not only on the margin, but are completely outside the margin. So the more women we now have occupying public position, especially political offices and elective offices, then the GHI will have more ladies to look up to want to emulate, as the case may be. I will still give a classical example. Right now, there will be hardly any Nigerian that will stop his daughter from going to play football. No.
Or basketball.
Or basketball, as the case may be. But the good tidings, and I need to say this, fortunately, I am one of the consultants to the Senate Committee on the Review of the Constitution. We've gone around the country for public hearing. We've had sittings in different parts of the country, and I can tell you the preponderance of opinion in Nigeria now is completely in support of this bill. Those that may be against it is a very negligible few. This I can assure you. You've seen our ladies from Kano State. It cuts across cultural and religious divide. There seems to be a unison and uniformity of opinion that the time indeed has come to create this special platform for more women to be seen, to contribute to debate, and have their input in national discussion, especially in lawmaking. Look at when we had laws like violence against a person's act, which is basically supposed to protect the woman. How many women were there to make contribution? You know, so even the interpretation of that law, even the application of that law, how much has it protected the girl child? So, in summary, or by way of conclusion, I think if we allow this amendment, and I believe it will happen, so I would rather use the word, instead of if, to say, when this constitution is amended, there will be enough role model for the girl child to emulate and to aspire and to see that the sky is no longer their limit.
And of course, at one point in time, there was a female presiding officer of one of the houses of the National Assembly. So
yes,
you could also...
somebody,
yes,
Patricia, yes.
Of course. So there are also models to look up to. But, John, you were going to come in at this point.
Talking about role model, I think in terms of role model, I think what my take would be that my daughter can see a woman in the chamber standing up to present bills, to debate and lead conversation. And she will tell herself that, oh, that is a woman like me, so I can aspire to be like her. That, for me, is what a role model is in this context. Not necessarily to say that we want somebody who is above board, because they are all products of our society. A role model is one who is able to go through all the barriers and stand in leadership position where our children can aspire to be like. If that is the definition of what a role model is, then we tick all the boxes. Secondly, why the bill failed in the last assembly? I think that will be some of the lessons that we should be taking forward. And I will call it, because up till this moment, there are senators and members who are still not fully on board, because that is a fact. In fact, as at the last time we did, we are looking at more or less, it's still about 60 to to 40. So a lot of advocacy and convincing is needed. And what were the issues? One, in the last assembly, they felt, unfortunately, I was also part of the consultancy team, just like myself and Professor Abuja. We are still part of it. Most of the senators felt, oh, this is a donor-driven agenda. It is not a Nigerian issue. I'm glad that at least that would put a lie to that. Secondly, they thought it was they said it was an elitist issue. It's not a Nigerian women issue. But from all the public hearings, from all the advocacy we've seen, the local women, everybody coming on board, and it has become a women and development issue.
Okay.
The third part of it is the cost of governance, which we have also been able to deal with. So for me, it's a bill whose time has come, and I will call on Nigerians to rally around this.
All right. We just have a call coming through from Gwagwalada. Haja Miriam calling in from Gwagwalada. Hello, go ahead.
Poor network.
Haja Miriam from Gwagwalada, are you there?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, go right ahead.
Hello?
Yes, if that's Haja Miriam from Gwagwalada. Good evening, go ahead. Let's hear you.
Hello?
Network.
Hello?
Maybe the network. You are
Well,
clear. You need
okay.
Hello?
Maybe we're having challenges with that, but if it's Haja Miriam from Gwagwalada, I would expect that you just go ahead with your question or comment. That's if the line is through. Hello. Okay. All right. Lost that call. Hopefully we can get other calls in, and the numbers are right there on your screen, so you can call in and be part of this conversation. Yes.
Yeah, so my final point is for the National Assembly members who were afraid that this bill will constitute a threat to their seats. We've also said it does not in any way affect their seats. It's an additional seat. They will continue to contest for their seats. It's not going to be zoned away from them. So we're calling on all of them to queue behind this bill and let this come true.
And that brings us to the matter of how citizens and lawmakers alike can work together to ensure the success of the bill. And as he has mentioned, there have been a lot of lessons learned from past attempts, and hopefully this time that knowledge would help and bring more people to it. Your advocacy has been on for quite a while, and in your opening comments you said tremendous progress and more people have caught on to it. Okay, another call coming through. Well, is it Sahid from Kwara? Sahid from Kwara, if you're there, go ahead.
Don't wait for them. Don't do any greeting. Just
Hello, Saeed. Go right ahead, Saeed.
We really appreciate the government for coming up with this guide. Hello?
He has gone.
Do we still have Saeed on the line?
He's gone.
Okay, one of those nights with challenges to... Yes. And segments of society, leaders, cultural and traditional leaders, they've all been part of this process. How would you assess their response so far?
Well, I think the response on many fronts have been good, but like the last speaker said, the response of the public at different levels is what we've seen from the different consultations. There is huge appetite, people are convinced, people are committed to it, but the buck still ends with the National Assembly. And that's why their view, their understanding is critical at this point. And one of the issues that needs to be topmost on their mind is globalization. Mm-hmm. The fact that They lead Nigeria to join the Committee of Nations, to compete for resources, opportunities, and to bring home the dividends of democracy to the people. Right. So if the National Assembly, the members, we know the leadership is keen, but we want each individual member to understand what is at stake, both globally, nationally, and at the grassroots.
Okay, we have Hajia Mariam calling back. Hajia Mariam from Gwagwalada, you're back on the line. Let's hear your views.
Hajia Mariam, go ahead now.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Just go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
She's gone.
All right. Yeah. Maybe we should say this. Usually when the calls come through and they pass to the studio, the name of the caller appears on the screen. So if you're calling in and once you see your name on the screen, it means your call has gone through to the studio and you just go ahead. We'd just like to encourage those. Just take a look at the screen. Once you see your name is on the screen, it means your call has been passed through, and there'd be no need for you to hesitate. Just go ahead with a question or comment, and whatever issues you raise, our guests would attend and respond to such issues. So,
I was going to say something, yes. Especially the fear that has been expressed or as canvassed by my very good friend, John Mutu. Now, the truth of the matter is that the type of democracy that we practice in Nigeria, constitutional democracy as the case may be, the people that we have elected, especially into the parliament, they cannot hold any view contrary and opposite to the view of the electorate because they are there representing them. In law, we say ignorantia non jura no excusand. That is, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. If you trace it to the common law system, what it presupposes, because 10 of us have elected you to represent us, it then behoves on you that you cannot take a decision in the parliament without consulting us. So whatever you are saying in the parliament, it is simply an articulation of our view that you're expressing. So the point that I'm making, a good legislator is that person that goes back to his constituency and let them know that these are the pending bills that we have. What are your views? And the aggregate of that view becomes his view. So what I'm saying is that we have gone around the country. For the House of Representatives, instead of just the 6th geographical zone, they broke it into two per zones, which is a wider basis. And they have heard the views and distilled the view and know exactly what the people want. From my own research and investigation, they be on inclusiveness, they be for special seat for women in Nigeria enjoys majority support, even from traditional rulers. And I'm glad to say that the members of the National Assembly, especially the leadership of the National Assembly, that have had cause to interact with, are also in support of this view. So if it be the view of majority of Nigerians that this be included in the Constitution, the person will be working contrary and on a tightrope to oppose it because he's going to go back to the electorate to seek for a re-election. Right. So I do believe very strongly that the National Assembly will allow it to see the light of the day.
Let's try the phones again. Abiola calling in from Ogun State. Abiola, hello.
Abiola, not
Adiola.
Good evening. Okay. I just want to contribute to the program. Are you hearing me, sir?
Yes, go ahead. Adiola, I think, from the name on the screen. Go ahead. Or is it Abiola?
Now, when we are talking about the issue of women in politics, well, one thing we have to note that now, I think we are not yet ripe enough. Because, for one reason, because it means you are going to increase the number of deportees, because
Oh dear, lost that call. I'd wished he had rounded off, but you can. All right, but he just started off by saying we're not right. But maybe we'll just address that on that on that basis. That Nigeria isn't right for that. Perhaps you'd like to take.
I think we're overripe for that. This should have happened yesterday. That was the best time. But since it didn't happen, or should I say yesteryears, now is the second best time. So, issue of us not being ripe, is it that?
In fact, in the world, the digital world that we are entering into, countries are marshalling all of their human capital, men, women, the youth, to be able to take advantage of the new digital order. So saying Nigeria is not ripe enough, we are ripe enough in a situation where we have already women who are engaging in the tech industry. We need to show that laws, regulations, processes that will protect them, enable them. We need more enablement that will allow us to compete in this new world order. And that is what this bill will do. Inclusion in decision-making, in budget appropriation, in oversight, in accountability. That, I believe, we're ripe enough for, because as a country, we need that at this point.
All right. Again, we have Esther calling in from Lafia. Hello, Esther.
Don't wait for Cyril to reply you.
Hello, Esther.
Yes?
Esther from Lafia, go ahead.
Yes, hello? Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yes. Actually, what I really want to say here is that we are talking about women. We are talking about women because it's very important for women to contribute their own portion to the development of this country. But to be sincere, men should give women the support. It is very important. Aside from this, how about the issue of persons with disabilities? Because we understand that time should be given to women and then persons with disabilities. I'm a woman with disabilities, and I'm of the view that women should be supported in politics. And women with disabilities should also be given that time, be given that chance to also contribute their quota. But this time around, like, we are just concentrating on just women, forgetting the issue of women with disabilities. We can do better disability in disability, and nothing about us without us. So persons with disabilities should also be given the chance to contribute their quota. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Esther. Well, let's start with you, Prof. How do you respond to what she's just said? It's on women, but she says women with disability. I do assume that the bill does not preclude women living with disability from being part of these special seats.
Well, what Esther just said, she's actually on the right pedestal. We have countries in Africa that special seats are reserved for people with disabilities, and also special seats are also reserved for youths, as the case may be. I give a good example, and I always make reference to Kenya because I was opportune to lecture in their university for about 5 years, so I was as good as a Kenyan citizen. And I recall very well a gentleman with an albinism who was elected simply because he occupied the slot for people with disability, and he did very, very well. There's this video that's been trending, a blind lady, I think in the Kenyan parliament. In their parliament, you have the National Assembly is the equivalent of the House of Rep, and they have the Senate that deals more with county matters, as the case may be. And I think the lady, the blind lady in their National Assembly, equivalent of House of Rep, is about the most brilliant, the most articulate in the National Assembly in Kenya. But let's make haste slowly. It has taken us 60 years to come to where we are today, advocating and almost reaching there to have special seats for women. I do believe when this says true, and we see the performance of the women, as a matter of fact, it will require the women be in the National Assembly to fight for the special seat for the other vulnerable groups, especially people with disability. So my reply to Esther is the fact that Judgment Day at last has come. 60 years after independence, the likelihood of having at least 37 women in the Senate and in the House of Reps has come. And with this population of women, there will be more concern about the other vulnerable groups, especially people with disability. And this is now more likely to see the light of the day. Please let us not forget that it is not only through constitutional amendment that changes can be brought into the society. It could be other means of legislation, like the National Assembly can now legislate, specifically making laws that will make it possible for people with disability to also be on equal pedestal and have equal opportunities.
Right. John, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, in addition to that, I also want to mention that in the House of Reps, there is already a bill for people with disability, and it was among the bills that went for public hearing. So it's not just this special seats for women, it's just that the special seat for women is more popular. And that is not surprising because of the population that bill seeks to address. But like Prof said, I'm an advocate of incremental change. We may not be able to address all the issues overnight, but we've started the process. Just in the last amendment, the Not Too Young to Run bill was passed, addressing lowering the entry age for political power so that younger people can also participate. That was done. And that provided the pedestal for what we are talking about for special seats. Maybe in the next amendment, like he said, maybe that will be the issue. So let's bite one at a time, and maybe the operational issues can maybe be dealt with later. And like he rightly noted, we have the people living with disability laws across the federation, across the states, and we'll continue to push push it forward.
Okay. We have on the line Samari calling in from Abuja. Hello. Samari from Abuja.
Yes, good morning. My problem with this program this evening is just one. The thing is that we cannot have this done if it's not constitutionally abided, because we have to, now we are into the law process, and there's an amendment going on presently at the National Assembly. Before this can be manifest, it must be enacted by the law. If not, it won't work out. Because the gladiators of political gladiators will never allow the woman to have a say or to have a way in the politics. This is my take.
Oh, well, okay, Samari.
Thank you.
Well, obviously we'll ask Prof to just speak on this, because it would seem as if a little bit confused about the process. Prof.
Yes, I think Samari thinks that we are having this conversation in isolation of the lawmaking process. And to put him within the loop is simply to say that the conversation we are having right now is that there are bills before the two houses of the National Assembly, making proposal for special seats for women. And what we have not mentioned here is that it's not going to be there forever. The proposal is for 16 years, but it's been recommended that let's have it for 3 electoral cycles, 12 years. After 12 years, these women would have shown like Lodesta, they would have proved their Me Too. They probably have greatly financially capacitated themselves now to seek election regardless of the agenda, as the case may be. So my very good friend that just asked this question, we are not talking isolation. The conversation we are having is in the light of what is already before the National Assembly, bills that have been proposed by members of the National Assembly themselves. And the likelihood, like, let me say, for the opt-in time of this seeing the light of the day is very, very high.
Right. And indeed, the constitutional review process is taking into account the concerns and the agitation and the feedback from the women at different levels. And so this is part of the constitutional process. I must also add that there is concerns across other African countries. At the 69th CSW, which held in March in New York, other African countries gathered at a round table to ask Nigeria, please implement CEDAW GR40, which is on parity. And so the process that is ongoing is responding to women in Nigeria, is responding to other African women who are asking that Nigeria should take its rightful place, should implement global commitments, and embed this within our constitutional process. And so launching the GR40 in Nigeria is something that the Minister of Women Affairs, who led that roundtable, was compelled to agree that it would happen. And so I believe that is why there's so much energy in preparing the ground so that constitutionally we get it right, and then we can look our other African sisters in the face and say, come to Nigeria. We are in the process, we will do it, and we will join the Committee of Nations that value women, that have a space for women around political table and political systems, and that we will be taking advantages of global development, because we indeed are a giant in Africa by the performance of women on all the other fields, on all the other spheres.
Okay, we have Saeed from Kwara State calling back. We had a dropped call earlier on, but Saeed, this time... Okay, go ahead, from Kwara State. Saeed from Kwara State, go ahead. Hello, Saeed from Kwara.
Yeah, good evening. And I appreciate our guest in this team. Good evening.
Yes, Saeed, we're waiting to hear from you. All right. Second time unlucky, so we'll probably just move on with that.
Yeah, I think he has said he called to appreciate the guest. So
that's all. Okay? Fine. Well, we have a few minutes to go. And so at this point in time, let's turn attention to not just the matter of the reserved seats, but beyond that, the political sphere. And this is how to address those issues bedeviling politics in Nigeria, especially those that impede women. And Prophet started talking about them. He listed quite a number of them, those factors, especially the matter of monetization of politics, where everything is about who has the chunk of finances and who controls all of it.
I think the main challenges we have in this country is not about legislation but enforcement. Everybody will agree on that score. I recall many years ago when the Electoral Commission came up with what people, aspirant or candidates ought to pay. The late Gani Fahmi went to court, and the court heard that that was unconstitutional, because it's depriving people access to the political space to contest election. The problem now is not INEC. The problem is the political parties. The problem is the political, especially the parties in powers and the super parties, as the case may be. Whereas the smaller parties in the circle, would literally charge nothing in order to attract very good people to contest election. And I do not canvass for any political party. But look at the last election cycle, the Labour Party in particular, people picked their ticket almost at the cost of nothing. And a lot of them were successful. But if you look at the mega parties, and I don't need to call names, they introduced what they call expression of interest, 10, 15, 20 million. Then the nomination itself runs into millions. And I think if INEC has the power under the Electoral Act to peg political spending, there's nothing wrong for INEC also to come down with a big hammer and peg what people should pay as nomination fee. That lies the challenge. But let me say it very quickly, in all fairness to political parties in this country, because like I said, I was in active politics for many years. A lot of the political parties actually waive the payment of nomination fee, either outrightly for women or reduce it to what I think they can afford. But all in all, it is not only the women that the space or the door is being shut against, but other eligible Nigerians who have something to show, to prove, to deliver, are being shut out from the political space because of this humongous nomination fee charged by the political party because they use it to raise funds for themselves. So I think INEC can regulate it because INEC has the power under the law to come out with the policies and rules and regulations, that is binding on the political parties. And I think INEC must do that this time around.
Now, beyond that, there's also that aspect that cannot be legislated, an attitude, the attitudinal change that we talk about. How to get politics to be played in the open and not this clandestine nocturnal meetings which you cannot legislate against anyway. So.
I think, well, for a long time, it seems as if that has been the culture, of politics, of having these late night meetings. Maybe because in the daytime, other businesses have been taken care of. And I have been in conversations with a lot of women, female politicians. Some were elected, some were not, but they are still active in politics. And for some of them, the conversation is, if women say they can do it, they should be able to do it at all hours. I ran for House of Reps years back. And what I used to do was, when I'm going for these nocturnal meetings, I'll go with my husband. He'll go and sit in the car. I'll go in for the meeting. And when we close, we go back home together. Well, not every man will want to do that. But you see, the political terrain is not one for, should I say, soft people? It's a hard terrain, and it's difficult to say you legislate on the hours for meetings. Even when you legislate, even when there's a law that says, political parties should only meet at such and such a time. Who monitors at late in the night when the meetings are going to take place? So what I would just say is maybe the political parties through IPAC can have a conversation around this and see how they can at least maybe reduce those late night meetings. Because it's not funny. Sometimes the meetings close at 4 a.m. and you have to find your way back, even where it is not secure, the environment is not secure, you're trying to find your way back. But I think the argument has always been that those are quiet times, no disturbances, people are not calling you on the phone to distract from the meetings. But I agree with you, it's not the best, especially for the women. But some things we have to just continue with until we're able to find our way around, and that will come with a lot of conversations within, inter-party kind of conversations for the parties to agree. But remember that some of these conversations are not even the party structure. It's sometimes a godfather with his people or calling people to a meeting. So, it's not strictly the party that is now determining those hours.
So we go back to the issue of who calls the shots, and obviously it's who has the deep pockets, and those are the ones who call the shots.
Sometimes it's not really the pockets, it's the influence, and doesn't always come with financial. You in some communities, in some places, we find that the man is not a money bag, but he commands a lot of influence in that community, and his word is almost law. So it's not a matter of money, because, those that go for the meetings don't get money. So it's influence, actually. So it's not really the person that has the deepest pockets, but it's the person that commands influence.
I think the reserve seat is also, in a way, an answer to some of these problems, because the reason why there's a lot of discouragement and women don't want to participate in those nocturnal activities is that at the end of the day, you said it, they don't get the party ticket. So they've invested all that time for nothing. But when you now have the prospect of getting at least some reserved, there's some assurance that they will make it through to secure a place at the governance table, I think it will also begin to encourage the women to believe in that system, because I think women feel it doesn't look like it is worth the investment of leaving your family, being away all night. It's a difficult terrain. It's very challenging. And at the end of the day, very few women sail through that process. So I think this in itself is responding to that, because it then gives opportunity for women to have some kind of reward at the end of it that is commensurate to the investment of time and engagement that they do through the process. And that will encourage more women to also join. And so whether it is a day meeting or a night meeting, if it is rewarding, I believe women will be there, because women are in mining, women are in aviation, women are pilots, women are now in the military as combatants, women are there as geologists. I don't think that it is that the terrain is so difficult. It is that the reward at the end of it is not commensurate with the effort that is put in by women.
That's true.
And if I may just add to that, with the special seats too, we will see godmothers emerging.
Exactly.
Right. And yes, there'll be godmothers emerging.
And
they'll also change the narrative. And they'll also change the narrative.
Yes.
And maybe make these meetings, to be at better time.
Times.
Because a godmother will call her
women,
women, will call the women together, just like the godfather will call the men.
And then the godmothers would match the godfathers.
Money for money.
If I can come in here, every industry or sector has its own culture.
Yeah.
Maybe we are still at that stage where our political evolution, the cultural tendency is that most of the decisions are taken at night. So if you are going into that sector, you must have to keep pace, and gradually things will evolve and change over time. But on the issue of cost, recently I led a team that conducted a study on the cost of politics in Nigeria. And some of the things we found that was that you talked about INEC enforcing some of those, financial lessons, but most of those financial expenditure are done under the table. They don't go through the open financial transaction that you can track and be able to hold people accountable. Secondly, most of the cost associated with election happens during the primaries, where people are competing to emerge as the candidate. At that point, people try to outspend or outdo each other. At that point, the political party plays a regulatory role or an umpire role. It does not provide any support. So you need to fund your election yourself. If you want that seat, there are those who have come in with the money. How do you compete effectively? Either you have the money, or you have the influence, or you have the reputation. Out of those three, you must have something. And I remember, I said Buhari and the obedient movement put a lie to this big impression around money. Due to the influence of President Buhari, a lot of people emerged without having a kobo, but just queuing around that name. It's something that has come to put a lie to this, that money rules. The emergence of Obi also. There are people who are bus drivers, taxi drivers, merely associated with that name provided. So influence, integrity plays a huge role. So you must have one of those. So for you to go into the terrain, showcase your capacity, showcase what you can do. And I give an example. We've seen people like Senator Garba Bintamasi. She came into the House of Reps in 1999 as a woman from Kaduna. But while she has gone through that, she built capacity and went and contested for Senate in Adamawa and emerged. But that is to show that when you give the woman a chance, build capacity, build credibility, she can emerge through that process. Another person is Senator Ekwunife. She was in the House of Reps. Built capacity, went for Senate, and even contested for governor against men. And that is why there is this belief that if you give women 4 electoral cycles to be able to build capacity, they will be able to compete effectively down the line. I think that is what the special seat is.
And that's what the men are scared of.
I think that's what, so it's not in something in perpetuity. It has a sunset clause. After 4 electoral cycles, we'll be able to look at it, review, and if there is need for it, then we'll take it forward.
All right. We've spoken at length on this, and we just have a couple of minutes to round off this, and we'll just use this to make our closing comments. And let's begin with you once again. Closing comments, as brief as possible. Just we have only a couple of minutes to
Yes. Well, I would say a lot of effort has gone into this at all levels. We are at the verge of launching Nigeria into global visibility, global relevance, global influence, and the ability to explore emerging global opportunities, because this bill, this reserve special seats, will enable us better explore our human resource capacities as a country. And therefore, it is a vital, critical step for us as a nation in the global order.
Right. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I think mine is to once again thank the National Assembly for taking this initiative, but also to tell Nigerians that it's not yet uhuru. There is still a lot of work to do. And by the grace of God, by the end of this assembly, we should all be celebrating. It's a unique opportunity that we can't take for granted. Let's rally around our legislators, both at the federal and state level, address their fears, their concerns, and let them be in a favorable position to vote for this, and we'll succeed this time around.
Right. And from
Yeah, I would like to say that our members of the National Assembly should leave this as a legacy that history will continue to remember them with, that it was during their time that this bill was passed. And it's going to be something that will showcase the potentials of Nigerian women. We have potentials in every state. So let them pass it, and they will see those potentials coming out and making impact in the nation.
Right. Then, Prof,
all I would say is that the need for inclusiveness by way of reserve or special seats for women being constitutionalized is not only a necessity, I mean, it's not only desirable, but a necessity in order to deepen democracy and then to enhance good governance in this country by giving voice, to people that matter. That is the women. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And it is on that note we conclude this program. I'd like to thank all those who called in. Unfortunately, the phone calls were not too clear. We just had a couple or so, but it's okay. We say thank you. Go ahead.
We also, yes, want to wish you. It's already midnight. We want a happy birthday, Cyril, for all that you do.
Whose birthday?
For all that you do for development. Happy birthday. What a way to celebrate, to start the day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
He is
right,
a good one.
And so it's on that note we conclude this program. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.